Welcome to the Young, Dumb, and in Love podcast, where we talk about all things marriage.
Our goal is to help equip you to have a marriage that is better than you have ever imagined by sharing real life experiences, getting into the nitty gritty, and sharing practical ways you can start today. Let's dive in.
Welcome back. We're so glad you guys are here. We're going to be talking about something that we are very passionate about. We're actually very excited about, and it's a follow-up from last week as we were talking about boundaries and setting guardrails in your life and why they're important and what it does for you. We had a great week when it comes to content and just hearing from the people. What your thoughts and what you think about boundaries. And it's really funny. It goes multiple ways. Like obviously there's a lot of people who agree and are like, yes, you need boundaries. Absolutely. And then there's others like, well, if you set boundaries, that just means you don't trust them. And I'm like, listen,
you don't necessarily sound like that, but
I mean, that's what I hear.
That's how he reads it.
When I read it, when you set boundaries, that's exactly how I hear it. But when you set boundaries, some people feel like because you don't trust your spouse, and it's completely the opposite. We have such great boundaries that we trust each other so much that we don't even have to, like I said, look at our phones or do anything like that because we've already set such good boundaries in our marriage, and it's kept us in a good place, in a safe place.
Well, I think if you look at it, because I think a lot of people go straight to trust, which totally makes sense. I mean, that's the conversation, that boundaries and having those guardrails set up, but really it's more of a matter of honoring each other. Like for me, it's not so much like, it's not a trust issue for us, and I realize that in marriages and relationships, there are a lot of trust issues, right? For me, it's an honor issue. I love and have so much respect for Julian and for our marriage that the boundaries are just that's why they're in place. Not because I don't trust you or because you don't trust me, but because I love you so much and I want to keep our marriage the way that it is. So I think it's a matter of perspective, a matter of how you're approaching just like any conversation or situation. But this week is kind of a follow-up conversation to that, because I think when when you have a vision or you have a purpose or a thought of how you want things to be.
A direction.
Yes. Thank you. A direction. It's so much easier than when you're talking about those boundaries or those guardrails, because you know that to be able to attain that goal, that vision for, of course, we're talking about specifically in your marriage and in your family, then those boundaries and guardrails are they make a lot more sense. Yeah. Because you're like, this is why, it's the why behind the what. It's,
exactly.
Why do we do these things? How, what, all of that. And so this is in a way, not 100%, but in a way, don't mind my non-lap dog, who is 20 pounds and is convinced she is the size of a small dog. Oh, yeah. And she is mama's girl through and through. She's the best. So we're just talking about vision in your marriage. And we've talked about this before, but kind of just to go a little more in depth on that. And so I just kind of have some notes. You'll see me looking at my phone. Yeah. That's about to die. It's fine. This is also just me in a nutshell. Clear and shared idea of what you want your marriage to look like. And I like this. It says to plan for the future with imagination and wisdom.
Oh, okay. Because if you don't have wisdom, you wisdom.
Yeah. And imagination. It doesn't mean it's something that is this is where you're going to dream big. This is where those things that you're like, man, that seems crazy, or wow, that seems really big, or that seems wild. And not everything might be that. It could be very simple too. For sure. But just really being open to that. So just really talking through that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's incredible. I love the fact that you said, imagination, using your imagination.
I knew you would. I put that in there for you.
Thank you.
It was
I really
my
appreciate
SEO for JULIAN. I knew that you would like that word.
Why? Because I dream big a lot.
Yeah, because imagination is just totally a Julian word.
Yeah. No, that's so true. I think it's so important to make sure that you are able to think of things that you want to do together. Yeah. And like you said, it can be crazy imaginative, things that are very imaginative, or it can be something as simple as like we're gonna eat dinner together every night.
Like very like tangible, like those things that feels tangible. Whereas maybe you have another dream that's like really big, and right now it may not seem very tangible or very attainable, but it's a big dream.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, but foundation is everything, and so when it comes to your vision and your marriage and everything that you do, like a foundation is the vision that you have for who you are and where you're going, and so you always have something to fall back on. And I mean, we're believers. We believe in God, and we follow Christ, and we believe that Jesus died on the cross for us. And we read his word, and his word says that if you build a house on sand, when the rain comes, your house will fall. Okay. And if you build it on a strong foundation, you will stand strong. And that's what we want to do. We want to help you build a foundation in your marriage and in your life. And the best way to do that is just truly just to conversate about what it could look like for your marriage. And honestly, like we're talking these big dreams and big visions, but one of the biggest mistakes that couples make in their marriage is that they just don't talk. They don't talk about the things that they should talk about. They don't communicate. They don't have conversation about where they want to go. What are their dreams? What are the non-negotiables in their marriage? When they don't have those conversations, they struggle in their marriage. So this is something we want to help you with, to create that vision for your marriage.
Yeah. When I kind of thought about this, like, how I think oftentimes when like we all know, like if you're married, like it gets busy. Life gets busy.
So
like
busy.
You're married, if you have kids, you have jobs, you have to like clean up the house, go grocery shopping, pay the bills. It's the everyday stuff can really cloud out like the point and the purpose and the vision, right?
Sure.
Because the everyday is busy and it's a lot. It's a lot. Like sometimes I'm just like, it's a lot.
Sometimes we go to bed and we're just like,
woo. And I think oftentimes we feel like we're aiming for nothing. And that's kind of like the vision I had is like, you feel like you're aiming just for nothing. You're like, okay, so like, what are we trying to do here?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what we want to help kind of lay out in this conversation. And then like with the resources that we want to be able to provide is like, okay, so we don't want you to feel like you're just like out there aiming for nothing.
Yeah.
But like the heart behind it is that you would be like, this is what we want our marriage to look like.
Yep.
This is why we want our marriage to look like this. And then this is how we're going to get there.
That's good.
And we talk a lot about this in like the business world, like what are my Q1 goals? What are my Q4 goals? Like, where are we at? But like, do we really come together in our marriage and say, hey, like, what are we working towards?
Yeah, so true.
And then once we do, then you do put boundaries in place. You put first you got to figure out the what, and then you're going to figure out the how are we going to get there? And then I always talk about too, like coming back to the why, And so, the first, I think, question really would be, what do you want your marriage to look like?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's a discovery conversation between the two of you, because you're both going to have your own ideas of what that should be, right? Because I mean, the truth is that we're so different. Like you think differently than I do, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And we might have different goals and thoughts on this. And so it's important that you take time to sit down with your spouse and say, okay, we're going to have a full-on meeting. We're going to sit down. We're going to eat some great food. We're going to laugh. We're going to have fun. But we're also going to bring our notebooks, and we're going to write down our goals and vision of what we want for our marriage. What is it that we want our marriage to look like? And I would say, in my mind, one of the best ways to do that is to do it individually and then come together and go, okay, this is what you wrote down. This is what I wrote down. All right. And then kind of just to take it from there, because you're actually able to see what the other person is thinking in their mind. And then you're able to go, okay, you know what? I'm going to give to you in that area.
Yeah.
And then it goes vice versa. And you're constantly giving towards each other to help make your vision and your goals come to fruition.
To fruition. Yeah. I love how
what I say, fruition. Did I say fruition?
Yeah, but one of the things about Julian is that he says words, and it's cute because he really doesn't.
It's because I'm Spanish.
That's what. Yeah, okay.
That's what I used to say as a kid.
But yes, I think having those, and it's going to look different for every single relationship and every single marriage, depending on where you're at right now. If you're like, oh, we set goals all the time.
For sure.
We're doing really great like this. Or you might be totally opposite. We're like, we've never come together and said, this is a goal for our marriage, or this is an expectation for our marriage. And like, I thought of it like this, like think like inverted triangle. Like you're going to start with like big, right? Like big picture as far as like, you know, we want to have, let's just say a financial goal. We want to have X amount of money saved by 2026. Okay. That's like your big goal, right? Yeah. That's going to go to the top. Now you're going to start breaking it down to the how. And then that's going to be like the bottom of the triangle, right? Because sometimes it's like, we're going to buy a house in Italy. And then you're like, how? Okay, cool. You know, it's like when you cut out all the stuff on the magazine, like from the magazines, like a vision board, and you have all this really cool stuff on there. And I think that's awesome because like vision is great and seeing it. But it's like, now how are we going to get there? So like, what do we want? So when you're thinking what, like think all of the things. Yeah. What do you want the, like, what do you want your home to be like? What do you want it to be feel like in your home? Like, what do you want financial goals? What do you have relationship goals? You know, maybe it's a dating, like a certain amount of dates a year or certain like check marks, you know, like it's different points, you know?
For sure.
And so just all of these, you're going to work down to the like reverse engineering, right?
Exactly.
And that's the thing. And that's been a huge thing for me, is learning how to reverse engineer, because like I see the big picture and then I am like paralyzed by it. Analysis paralysis. That is me. That's my personality. I can see it, but sometimes I'm like, now how do I get to
actually do it?
And I get overwhelmed by the getting to it, and then I just am the giver. I just give it up. Yeah. So I'm like, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's going to be kind of like, what are those like goals? Like for us, we're really bad at dating. Like we're just going to be really, we'll encourage you to go on dates. We see the value in it, but for us, it's a goal we need to work on. Yeah. We need to work better. So we may say we need to go on 52 dates a year.
Now be specific on what dating is. Like we're talking like, no, I'm saying like we're talking going on a date,
getting a babysitter. Being
very specific.
Because we do hang out a lot. We do like to talk. Yes, and stuff, but we're talking like going out on. We spend a lot of time
together, and it's you know, I feel like every time we're alone, we're on a date. Like that's what it feels like to me. But we're talking about intentional dating. Yes, because we do spend a lot of time alone, but we don't necessarily like go out very often on dates, which I think totally fine. But we want to be better at it. Like for our marriage, we're not saying you have to do it this way. We want to do it. We want to do better. Yeah. You know, so you're going to start with, this is like the big picture. And then you want to work yourself down into the reverse engineering. Okay. How many days a week? Is there a day that works best for us? Who's going to babysit? Where are we going to go? Where's our budget?
All of that stuff. Exactly. So, you know, just every goal, whether it's financial, whatever that looks like, you know, and,
break it down.
I
mean, it's going to be tedious too, because you're going to have to really think through things that you wouldn't naturally want to think through. Or because, you know, some of the things you're going to be like, it's kind of boring. I don't really care about this. But if it's going to get us there, I'm going to have to figure it out.
Yep. Well, and a lot of times, you know, and this is something I've heard too, is like action builds clarity. Like a lot of times you might be like, ooh, I don't really know how this is going to go. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But you just have to kind of start
somewhere
doing it.
Yeah.
Which is good for someone like me who's more like, oh, I don't know. And then and I'm also a perfectionist. So there's like two things that work against me in this area, which some of you out there might be like, that is 100% me.
Yes, girl.
Yeah. Like one, I am like, I don't know what to do. And then if I don't do it perfectly, then I'm like, it's not good enough. I just shouldn't do it. But it's like action leads to clarity. So like you might do something and you might come back together. And this is a great point to talk about.
Yeah.
You might start doing something and you realize like, this is actually like not working very well.
This isn't for us.
That's why you have checkpoints, like quarterly, whatever that looks like. And you need to like set those up in your phone, because for me, we just like won't do it. Like set up these like, you know, checkpoints and be like, hey, does this feel like it's working? Because there's definitely been times we've come together and we'll be like, this is not working.
Yeah.
Like this, like whether it's a financial thing, whether it's a parenting,
love the thought
parenting thing, you know, or like, oh, we really thought this would be fun. Or maybe we've had financial goals. Like we'll be totally transparent with you. Like financial goals that we thought we would like maybe hit sooner. Like, we're going to buy this year. And then when we come together halfway through the year and we go, like, well, we did not anticipate that car breaking down and costing X amount of money. We might have to table that idea or whatever. But, that's why you have to be flexible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think, making sure, okay, what does that look like?
Yep.
And then you're going to break down like, okay, now how are we going to get there? And that's the nitty gritty. That's the part where people quit. That's the part that's uncomfortable.
Yep.
Might bring up some uncomfortable conversation.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Will. For sure it will.
Because there might be different expectations too.
100%.
That you're like, hey, like this is kind of what I'm thinking. And we talk about this all the time. The poop. The flipping poop.
So here's the thing.
The poop.
Yeah.
Like don't even.
No, 100%.
No, listen, I love you.
She's not talking. Just so you know, she's not talking about my poop.
No, but you do poop.
Although all men take a long time pooping, mostly.
No, like you're just. I mean, it's just a
poop
joke
in the
now.
yard from the dogs, right? And so I get so wrapped up and busy in my work, in what I'm doing, and I work from home, but I'm like so busy by the time I'm done. And obviously we live in Arizona, so it's super hot too.
So then the poop smells extra good.
Yeah. So that, and then I just all of a sudden I'm like, I haven't picked up the poop in a couple of days,
and there's like 40 piles of poop out. It looks like
she's staring out the window like this, just like, I'm gonna kill you if you don't both pick up that poop, and I go out there and I take care of it and it's totally fine. But yes, it's just one of those things where, it's sometimes it just gets dropped.
Dropped literally from them.
It gets dropped.
Dropped, yes.
Why did we even bring that up? I don't even know.
I don't know, because everyone has different expectations.
I picked it up yesterday. We're fine. We're
fine. It's fine. No, it wasn't fine because the dogs didn't even have anywhere to go. So they just like walk in it or lay on it. And then I have to bathe them. It's like a whole thing. You can cut this part out if you want.
No.
But anyway, so yeah, you want to do like, okay, the what, like, what do we want this to look like?
Yeah.
And I want you to think like big, like when I'm saying vision, like I think about when me and Julian are 80 years old we're like, I mean, this sounds so cheesy, but front porch swinging, watching our grandkids or
playing
whatever.
In the yard.
Like, what do we want to have accomplished? What do we want our legacy to be? What do we want our kids to have felt in our home? What kind of financial legacy do we want to leave behind? What is it that we have wanted to accomplish?
Yeah.
And that's even like reverse engineering that like in a whole nother level.
End game. Yeah.
Like, man, what do we want it to be like when we're retired? How do we want to be able to spend our days? Because if we don't start now, like we may not be able to get to that. You know what I mean? And I don't want to look back. And that's the thing is like when it comes to boundaries, like I want, like for me and our vision of our marriage is that we are faithful to one another, that we are only have eyes for each other, that we have, undeniable trust, respect, honor. And so then when we talk about boundaries, like that's easy.
Yeah.
Like to me, because I know what I want and why I want it.
Creating the boundaries.
Then
is so
creating
easy.
the boundaries it's like common sense. It's like, then this is great. Let's just have these boundaries.
Yep.
And that's really why when you know the why behind what you're doing, it becomes so much easier. Ma'am?
Yeah. It really does.
You're okay. Get down. Here.
Yeah. The why behind the what is
the what.
the
so
most
it's like
important
first,
part.
it's like, and you're going to come back to that why like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important that you have it, right? Like, because there's going to be days where it's frustrating.
Yeah, for sure. I've never had those days with you, so.
No, I'm not talking about just marriage.
I'm kidding.
I'm honestly trying to give you an opportunity to speak.
No, you're doing great. What you're saying is great, so continue. Don't stop.
Because I get a lot of comments about how I just talk too much.
I talk when I'm supposed to. Don't worry.
No, I think it's funny. And it's, it's fine. You have to get thick skin if you're gonna be.
I can care less.
I know. But they're like, oh, she just cuts him off and talks all the time. And I'm like, he edits this video so that he's not talking. So like, I totally get it because it does look like that.
Well, I'll say something then.
Yeah.
I'll say something.
Can you please talk?
No, but you just said it. The why behind the what. Yes. What is the why? The why is, I said it earlier, the foundation. It's the thing that you're going to stand on. It's the North Star. It's the final destination. Don't say that. That's a bad movie.
Oh, do not.
That movie gave me the creeps. But it is the thing that you can always fall back on when you feel lost. Yep. And it's so funny. I remember when we didn't have phones that, had maps on them and we had to print off our maps.
Oh my gosh.
And we would drive across the country.
I'm not that old. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we're that old. But we would have to drive across the country and print off. We would have to print off an entire map of where we were going.
A literal map.
And if you lose your map when you're halfway through your trip, oh well. Like you're gone.
MapQuest.
It's
there's like turn here, but like on a piece of paper.
Yeah, it was a piece of paper. Like you had to print it
now
off.
I can literally like put directions to
But it was our foundation. It's what we looked at. It was the thing that told us where we were going, because we didn't know how to drive from Seattle to Texas. We didn't know how to do that, but we were able to figure it out because of what we printed off and what we put in front of us.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing right here. Like your life is your destination. Where are you going? You have your marriage, you have everything that you're doing. You've created your destination of where you want to go. Now you need to MapQuest it and start making it happen and start going to the place. And you're going to have to make some left turns, and you're going to have to go over some hills, and sometimes you're going to have to stop and put some gas in the tank, and you're going to have to do all these things to maintain your car, maintain your mentality. You're going to have to eat, you're going to have to like rest. Like these are all things that are going to be a part of your journey. It's not just going.
Yeah.
There's going to be times where you're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to there's construction on this road, so we're going to have to do a little detour, and we're going to have to figure this out without MapQuest now, because we didn't expect our car to break down. So here we are, like all that stuff's going to happen, but you still know the direction you're going. You still know where you're headed, and that's your foundation. And when you stick to that, no matter what kind of detour, what kind of construction's in front of you, you're going to be able to still get to your destination. It might take longer.
Yeah.
It might be a little harder.
Oh, absolutely.
You might have to stop for gas a couple more times and take a couple more naps, but you're going to get there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing about, because we have, faith, we know like you can plan, but like the Lord will direct your steps. But we also know that having vision, it talks about like without vision, people perish. And really what it's saying is like, if you don't kind of have like you said, a North Star or the direction or something that you're like, that's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
And it's important in your marriage. It's important as a mom, as a dad, in really every relationship.
For sure.
Same with business, with all of it, workout goals, financial goals, parenthood. Like if you don't know, like this is what I want. This is how I'm going to do it. And this is why I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the thing. And then being able to set up those action steps. And then that's where clarity kind of just keeps on going.
Yeah.
Because it is overwhelming sometimes. You're like, okay, so especially in the world we live in, we're like, how are we even going to make it that far into the future? But having that clarity of like, this is where we're going, so that on the really hard days, whether, it's hard because of marriage or life or parenting, you can come back to that center. You know what I mean? And I think that's the thing, is coming back to that center and going, this is why I do what I do.
Yeah.
Because life.
Yeah, exactly.
Because life.
Exactly.
And really starting with that like inverted triangle of like, this is the big pic. Like I don't have to know all of it.
Exactly.
But it's like moving down to, and then
one step at a time. Yeah. And that's the thing too. We have to remember that it's one day at a time. One step at a time. One action at a time. Yeah. One moment at a time.
Oh yeah.
We live in such a world where we want things immediately. Like, why is this taking so long? It's like, it's been 3 seconds. It's not a big deal.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, instant gratification is what we know. And that's why people give up so fast and easily these days, because they're used to instant gratification. And so,
I get frustrated. Like I was at Chick-fil-A, and shout out Chick-fil-A because they do so well all the time, but it took longer than normal. And I was like,
I had to wait 5 minutes instead of 3.
5 minutes instead of 3. But I find myself being like, everything should be quick.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, like we're so used to like
instant gratification.
And that's just really not reality.
Yeah.
At all.
And so we want to help you just set that up.
Yeah.
We want to help you just discover what that is for you, and sit down with your spouse, sit down by yourself and try to figure out, okay, where am I headed? Where are we going? And then you're going to have that foundation set for you. Okay. Now you're going to figure out, okay, this is the steps I need to take. This is how I'm going to move forward and get to that next place. And at the end of the day, when you get there, you're going to be like, man, anything worth having is going to take a lot of work. There's going to be a lot of tears. There's going to be a lot of heartache. There's going to be a lot of things that you're going to go through. And it's going to be hard. You're going to have sleepless nights.
But it's also going to be amazing.
No, I'm saying all that first.
Okay.
You're going to have all of those things. But at the end of the day, it's going to 100% be worth it. There's going to be really joyous things that happen across while you're going down. You're going to have some beautiful views. You're going to, just like when we're traveling across the country, you're going to have one time we were traveling in the middle of the night and it was dark and we were looking for deer, just trying not to get hit, right? Gosh, yeah. And then the next day we're going through the mountains and the trees were beautiful and the scenery was awesome. And that's just life. That's what we're going to go through. But as you're going to it, you're going to go, okay, all of this was worth it because we ended up where we wanted to go and be. Okay. And once we got there, we made it and we were like, okay, this is it. We made it. We are here. And so we've actually made something for you that we would love for you to take advantage of.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah. So we are going to provide you totally free to you. You can actually, wherever, I guess you could be watching or
you can click the link on right below.
Wherever you're at, click the link. And it's going to just kind of be like, walk you through the steps, kind of give you everything we talked about today, like the why, the what, the how, really the whole idea of coming together with your spouse separately, setting those tangible goals. What do you want your marriage to look like? And then how do you make those action steps?
Yeah.
And so we want to be able to basically provide you with a guide to be able to start doing that, and I always say, the time is going to pass whether or not you are working on your marriage and working towards goals or not.
For sure.
What do you want that to look like? You know what I mean? Like no matter what, the time is going to pass, and so we're going to provide you with that. Mm-hmm. You can find, and we would love to have you tag us, talk about it. We want to see what you're doing. We want to see your ideas. Honestly, get a whiteboard, do it on the whiteboard, get sticky notes. I have 1,000 sticky notes downstairs. We're just this is what we want. This is how we're going to get there because I am visual. I'm so visual. I need to see it. And so we're going to provide that for you.
Yep. So just click the link below and you'll be able to grab it. We'll post it on social media too. So if you didn't see this, you might see it on there as well. Yes, but all you have to do is just follow that link and then it'll just walk you through the steps of how to download and everything that you need to do. It's downloadable. You can print it off. I would suggest that you do print it off so that you can write on it. It's because we left space for you to be able to write your own things. But we're so grateful for you guys. We love this podcast. We love doing this. We love walking in this with you. If you have any questions, thoughts, topics, anything that you want us to go over, please leave a comment. We want to hear from you. Make sure you subscribe. It helps us big time if you subscribe and you share. We would love that. But we appreciate you guys. And hey, we'll see you next time.